Good morning, everybody, and good afternoon or good evening all over the world. I'm your host, Mad Max, and it has been a while since I have done my last episode of Mental Madness. But I'm back, guys. Yes, sir, that's right, I'm back. I'm here to talk about a lot of things that have been going on in the world. It's been a little bit of time since I've done my last episode, and I kind of wanted to catch up with you guys on what's going on. So, you know, I'm really disappointed in a lot of things I've been seeing what's going on with our government, mainstream media. I mean, I'll get to those points, but for now, I want to first talk about a couple of things that are really boggling me. And some things have been coming up lately around the world recently with this Iran um, nuclear thing that's going on, with the multiple amounts of gun violence, shootings that are going on in schools, and I think there is a clear panic going on, and it's just the beginning of a very big panic that's coming. And it's like when you let's say you won the lottery by looking at your ticket. You got all your numbers. Then you go to claim your ticket, and the number that you thought was the number was misprinted or was smudged, and you read it wrong. And you go to claim it, and it's not the winning number. The rage that you would feel from something like that, or how devastated you would feel. That's coming in a big way. That devastated feeling that you're about to get. It's coming for some people. It's coming. For others, they'll be prepared for it. Hopefully, can stem the bleeding some. But I think there's a huge financial bubble coming in the marketplace. We've seen this huge spike recently in Wall Street. It's gone over 16,000. It's gone 14, 15, and 16,000 in 1 year. I can't remember. But we've gone through this huge spike, and I think that it's going to lead to a bubble. A economic bubble that's going to collapse and burst, and shit's going to be real bad then. But I hope that that does not happen. I really hope that that does not happen. But I think that that's necessary in order to get our country back to the original Constitution with which it stood for once. And we are now under an unconstitutional government and an unconstitutional Congress and an unconstitutional military. Because some of the orders are unconstitutionally given, and there's a lot of secrets that are going around that are becoming exposed, especially with the Edward Snowden thing. I really do support that guy. I really believe that the American people ought to know that the government has the capabilities of spying on you and actually are collecting and storing data of any digital thing that you do. I'm totally against that. They can use that against you later if they wanted to, or they could use that information for their own benefits and for future references. I'm totally against storing and collecting any of my digital data, and I think all the American people should say no. That this is not right. Nixon got impeached for one wiretapping of a reporter. Nixon got impeached for one wiretapping of a reporter. And look at what the blatant and disrespect of the Obama administration for the mainstream media and even alternative media, which I'm totally for alternative media, like Alex Jones and Michael Savage and Adam Kochak. And there's a lot of other people out there who are really opening the minds of the American people. Ben, what is his name? Glenn Beck, which I don't really like very much, but he is still trying. He's attempting. So I don't support people who support bad ideas. And I served in the military for 8 years. I was a combat veteran, 2 tours to Iraq. I've seen some pretty devastating things in my life. And the experiences that I've had have really impacted me in a way that made me kind of force myself to open my eyes and be like, well, hey, maybe that wasn't the right thing to do. Maybe what we did wasn't the right decision. Or maybe, just maybe, there's some corruption. And if there is, should I even bother myself investigating it? Because I'll, you know, get in even more trouble possibly if they back each other, you know. And that's how it works for the military, you know. The officers, the high-ranking officers, can always get away with their fuck-ups because they have somebody who will be like, oh, don't worry about it, I got you. You know, other high-ranking officers that will protect them. You know, and it doesn't work that same way. When you're a low-ranking soldier, you get hemmed up for everything, you know. And so they're exempt from the own law that they have because of their rank. And that's, you know, that's dumb. Military law is military law, and I've seen it happen several fucking times. Soldiers not allowed to use cell phones, but officers are. You know, these assholes get to walk around in front of you on the cell phone talking with their wife in a combat situation on the cell phone, the satellite phone. But you can't do that. You can't call your family on cell phone because they give you Article 15 or destroy you. You know, that's just one example of a scenario I personally experienced of bullshit, you know. And I'm not going to go far into some of the things that I operated in Baghdad when I was operating in the Mosul area. Had a lot of experiences with a lot of Al-Qaeda experiences and a lot of regard to the tower, and you know, we had some really high security guys come through like Blackwater, KBR, even the CIA. I did one mission with the CIA, and it wasn't actually a mission that I was supposed to know that I was going on. We kind of stumbled upon it, and we weren't supposed to. So that just goes to show how elite my task unit was at capturing the enemy. I mean, we were patrolling every day those streets. It took the CIA 6 months to capture these guys. We stumbled upon the guys that the CIA were looking at for 6 months. Easily stumbled upon them and captured them. Did we have to chase them down? I remember chasing the bad guys through the streets of Baghdad with my buddy. Just me and him running through the streets of Baghdad. Fucking chasing down one of the drivers of the vehicle to capture him. And I was scared shitless. It's just me and one other guy chasing after this guy in back houses of Arab villages. I mean, if they would have caught us, then we would have been screwed. But somehow, with all that body armor on and that huge weapon and all the weapon attachments and all the you know, my camelback filled with water, my ammo pouches full of ammo and grenades. With all that gear on, I managed to chase this guy down, who wasn't wearing any gear. And I remember it was like, you know, how the fuck did I just do that? How the fuck did I just do that? Wearing these 80 pounds of gear, carrying a 20-pound weapon, chasing after a guy who's pretty much wearing nothing but skirts and sheets. Through Arab villages, 150-degree temperature. How did I catch him and tackle him? How the fuck did I do that? So, you know, and it wasn't just me. It was one other guy. It was a team effort. Maybe it was one other guy, too, as well. I can't remember. All I remember was running behind another soldier, which I won't name. And we ended up tackling the guy with all this gear on. We didn't want to shoot because they wanted us to capture them, not kill. Even though when we approached the vehicle was low sitting in the back end. So that's a high sign of explosives in the trunk, car bomb. So we automatically assumed that's what it was. We surrounded the vehicle with like a 200-meter radius. But they saw us, they got out of the car, started running away. That's an instant cue that they might want to blow the car up, so that's why they run away from it. But then again, I was like, well, most martyrs don't really care about running away because they just don't care about dying. They blow themselves up. That's the whole purpose of being a martyr. And in this situation, it wasn't that, and they had very high-valued CIA targets captured, and we rescued them. CIA was looking for them for 6 months. I come into this, you know, I can't even get into the details of what was going on. I can't really talk about who or what or why. But all I can tell you is that the government is involved in everything. Whether it be me as a soldier over in Iraq, the CIA is there. The government is there with their 2 fingers in there. I had no idea that this was a CIA operation until we interrupted their operation and ended up, you know, capturing the guys they were looking for. So, and it just goes to show that if we can beat them to the punch, we can interrupt their plans. That's the whole point of this story that I told you, is that we interrupted the CIA's plans by capturing them themselves. They had to award us with the credit for it, and they couldn't take credit for it. And maybe something was altered. You know, I don't know exactly what the whole story was. They didn't give me a lot of information. You know, I remember accessing their facility, and that's it. And it was very high security. No weapons, even though I was in a combat zone. No weapons. And the location I really won't go over either. But it is a, you know, the government is working in very high value targets, very high value places without you knowing about it. There are things going on you have no clue are going on. And you need to know. And that's why I'm kind of exposing some of bits and pieces of information that are non-classified about the operations, is because I believe that somehow we saved those guys' lives that we rescued. And the guys, when they lifted their veils and saw the American faces, they literally started crying. I remember it was in a moment where I lifted the blindfold over his eyes and he saw me. And he opened his mouth like, and started bawling instantly. Because this was a good person. He hugged me and bawled and crying. Because he was captured by Al-Qaeda terrorists who were supposed to rescue these guys. And the Al-Qaeda terrorists were supposedly running away, trying to not get caught. Except for we're super soldiers and we fucking caught them. To this day, I still can't explain how we moved so fast. Jumping over fences, wooden fences that were high. I don't know how we did it, but we did it, man. And not one single misfire on the weapon the whole time we were running. Nobody got excessively hurt, captured, and we gathered intelligence from the Al-Qaeda member. And everything, the mission was a success, even though we weren't supposed to be on the mission. We were on our way to the tower to defend the tower for that day. And we saw this low-riding vehicle, and we decided to stop it. And inside the trunk of this low-riding vehicle were two people. I won't say the specifics of who or where they're from, but I saved them. And it was like one of those moments where an angel was hovering above me, and there was this odd euphoric energy of oneness, of me saving an innocent person's life. You know, whether he was innocent or not, I don't know. But the feeling that he had when he saw that I was an American soldier, a good person, and that he knew he was going to be safe and not going to be hung, his head cut off, or killed, because he was not from the country we captured him in. You know, he was on a mission, and I can't go over those details either, but the moment that we had together was a moment of, one that I will never forget. And the moments that I gave kids who were literally starving, living in trash huts and stuff, giving them MREs, and those kind of moments really kind of irked me too. You know, they got to my heart. You know, because I don't want to see people suffer, especially kids. You know, because they brainwash those kids to make them think a certain way. By the time they get a certain age, then, you know, they're baddies. But, and I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the whole world. I feel bad for you. And we got it pretty good here in America. But a lot of our rights and our liberties and our freedoms are being stripped from us. And you can see it and you can feel it. People are getting anxious and stressed out. As a whole, the country as a whole is getting stressed out. Is about to go through a nervous breakdown. And I feel that the nervous breakdown is about to come. And I want to warn people that if it does come, and I really hope it doesn't, that people use that nervous breakdown for the right reason. You know, if the stock market does collapse and the dollar's worth nothing or very little, then things are going to be really, really bad. I mean, we saw a government shutdown for 1 week, and people who couldn't get food stamp money were literally robbing stores left and right. Just looting the shit out of stores for the 1 week government shutdown that happened. They couldn't get food stamps in certain places, People were furious, looting, robbing, stealing everything they could. Didn't give a shit, and that's just a small area in Florida that happened. Imagine if, you know, every city in the United States got food stamps shut off. What the fuck would happen? I mean to tell you right now, folks, you have no idea how scary it's going to get. I do. I've envisioned it. I've meditated on it. I've seen it. I've experienced the corruptness in the military, and I was part of it. And I did the dirty work the government told me to do. And I feel bad for some of the things that I've done. I've never done anything too horrifically bad. You know, I never was the perfect soldier. I've always had a problem with authoritarianism. You know, and my mouth got me in trouble a couple of times in the military. But I still ended up becoming a non-commissioned officer and a leader. Because in the end, I was growing up as a person. I was a young person. I was a young soldier. I liked to run my mouth at first. Then I started to learn, well, you know, if I don't do what they say, then, or just shut the fuck up and let them be kings, then I'm not going to be anything. So I followed their bullshit for a while. Then I became somebody. Then I became injured. And then I came home, got out of the military. So I stayed in for 8 years. 12 more years, I could have retired. 8 years in the military. I love the military, although I had a lot of bad feelings about how I felt about the military and how they operated in the military and how authoritarian. I mean, I understand that you sign a document that says, you know, you're going to be a soldier. But they don't treat soldiers like human beings. And if they did, they would probably have a lot more soldiers. You know, and in some certain situations, yes, there's a time for a leader to be hard on the soldiers and to be stern and discipline them. But when it becomes a game, and when it becomes funny, and when it becomes something that somebody enjoys to do, which is happening in the military every day, the power, the control that they have and they get to use on other people is very mentally abusive and even physically abusive if they want it to be. And, you know, to a certain extent, that's okay. You need to toughen a man up. A man needs to be a fucking man, and I agree with that. But to humiliate somebody and to do something for the pleasure of yourself because you can, because you have the rank and the power and the control. You know, I've seen it several times, and there are good soldiers and there are good leaders, ones who will be respectful for you and who you are, and will let you know respectfully when you mess up. There are other ones who will be the most disrespectful way they can because they don't like you, or they don't care about you, or they don't have that kinship with you because you're not buddies, you don't listen to the same music, or you're from different parts of the world, because the military works like that. And the military is the biggest gang of them all. There's different gangs in the military, cliques, whatever you want to call them. There's a lot of mental and physical abuse that goes on, and sexual abuse that goes on in the military. And it's all because of a very corrupt system, a corrupt military, a corrupt government, a corrupt country, a corrupt beingness as an individual. And as a whole, as a country, we need to change the way we are and the way we think. Taking the fast, easy route will only lead you to your certain death. But taking the hard-earned path will always lead you to success. And the hard-earned path, I mean, we are going to have to bite the bullet. That means the stock, maybe we might have to get rid of the Federal Reserve, period. We might even have to get rid of the US dollar and replace it with a whole new currency that's backed by sound money, pure metal, gold, silver, copper, platinum, So, and I'm totally against money, period. I don't think that we even need money. I think that if we as a society are intelligent enough and we can use our brains the right way, everybody should have more than enough food if we properly grow and properly harvest and properly breed without growth hormones that make them grow super fast. You don't need that. You just need hardworking people who aren't working 12-hour shifts, but 4 to 6 hour shifts for $30 an hour if you're getting paid money. You know, if you don't need money, we can have a society where you go to Walmart and you don't have to pay for a TV. That sounds crazy. I think that that's possible. I honestly think that that is possible. That everybody could go to Walmart and pick out anything they wanted and take it home with them. And nobody in the world would suffer because they got that item. And because resources are only as limited as you make them to be. For instance, oil. What's the process of creating oil? If we can figure out the process of creating oil, then we can recreate that process in a lab and make our own synthetic oil, such as cubic zirconium, the diamond. We can recreate diamond in a lab because we know how the process works. The same principle applies for food. It's always regeneratable. Your body regenerates. If it gets cut, it heals. It regenerates. It's a very slow regeneration rate. And there are maybe beings who have very high regenerating rates, much higher regenerating rates than us, and could live a lot longer than us. The only reason why we don't live long like we used to back in the ancient days, hundreds and thousands of years, is because we have been exposed to a massive amount of what you would call Illuminati bewilderment, I would call it, this spell, this hypnotic state that we're currently under, that we don't even use 100% of our brain power. We only use maybe roughly 10 to 15% of our brain power. Maybe certain geniuses can use a little bit higher. But why? Why are we limited to how much we can use? Have we always been limited? We've been around for 2 million years. We see great pyramids that were built that we can't rebuild today with our own technology. That would take us years to do, probably. How do they do it with just chisels and no cranes and none of that? So it's clear that there were intelligent civilizations with technological features that we could never even begin to understand. And that maybe the Bible wasn't as so cavemanish as we thought. Maybe during those times there was a lot more technology than we thought existed. Fiery chariots that could fly. Flying chariots of fire? What's a jet with fire coming out the back of it? I'm just saying. Just because we call something an airplane doesn't mean that same people who have flying objects are going to call their things airplanes too. So let's get it right, folks. Let's think outside the fucking box. I'm not the smartest man in the world, but I like to use both sides of my brain. And sometimes I end up going too far off on the left, and sometimes I end up going too far off on the right. But I like to end up centering myself and centering my chi and centering my oneness with the Creator and with the universe. Because this experience of free will, my own will to do whatever I want, that is an experience that was gifted to me by my parents. But if it really leads down to who was the original human beings and how did they get here, and it was the same process that I created my daughter or you created your children, I believe, in some form or fashion. And to be honest, I think you cannot disclose a creator. The same way you cannot disclose that you created your own children. And the human population was created. But by who? And I think, if there is someone who created us, and say it was a type 2 civilization, or type, really advanced, billion-year civilization that created this, or altered the DNA on the species that were already here on this planet, the indigenous species on planet Earth that naturally grew up from the water, like monkeys, for instance. Monkeys who were genetically altered to become Homo sapiens, or Neanderthals and then later Homo sapiens, whatever. I don't remember exactly how the timeline works, and you can probably do the research yourself. But there was a timeline with which Homo sapiens were at war with Neanderthals, and the Neanderthals ended up getting killed off. And I don't think that all the Neanderthals were killed off. I think they hid underground in caves, and we're talking about hairy ape-man looking people, maybe even 10, 15 feet tall. Really just basic human, you know. They might be able to communicate somewhat by banging on trees and making sticks out of clubs, and you know, these people were not very bright. They might not even cook their food. I don't even think they cook their food. So they're not very bright, but they are consciously aware to a certain extent. And so that's what makes them beings. And that's hard to accept because, you know, most people don't see themselves as an animal, but they really are just a creature of the planet Earth. And however we got here and however we got to the stage that we're at now is irrefutable of the fact that something altered the state with which we were in to what we are now in. And that was information. And how that information was transferred from one point to the other could either have only been through intelligent act, because you can't have a reaction without an action, and you can't have an action without a reaction. So, you know, if the universe was ever nothingness and nothing ever existed, then there could have never been something that came. So, obviously, we're not dealing with something that we truly understand, or we can even begin to fathom. Maybe scientists are getting close to starting to understand some of those very, very small, minute details. But I don't think that we're anywhere near the true capable technological experience that we could have, the Star Wars experience that we could have, the healing the universe, the healing of good versus evil. There's always going to be a battle of good versus evil. You can't have a battery operate unless there's a positive and negative charge. And that positive and negative charge implements the fact that the battery even works. Without the positive and negative charge, you cannot have energy. So negative consequences is something that is required. You know, it's something that we live in. We live in negativity. Chaos is allowed. Bad things are allowed to happen here because we live in that energetic compound of positive and negative. Now, which side are you going to be? You know, that's the whole thing. Where does your heart weigh heavy on? Does it weigh heavy on for the good? Do you feel bad for someone who's innocent being hurt or killed or raped? Or are you on the other side? Ha 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 ha, laughing, joking, making fun of it. Now, you know, you can debate whether your heart weighs heavy only for certain things or not other things, you know, and your heart may weigh heavy for different things because of experiences you've had in your own personal life. This mind, body, spirit complex that you're experiencing. This mind, body, spirit complex that you're experiencing right now, which is part of what makes up consciousness. You know, you can't have consciousness without a mind, body, spirit complex. And without a mind, body, spirit complex, and I can get into the details of that in another time, which I may actually have another episode of that, you know, the Law of One series, which I study a little bit. I read all the books. I read some of the Bible, read some of the Quran, I read the Law of One. You know, I'm going to try to, you know, just study them to see, because I like to refer to ancient history. You know, I don't look at the Bible as a religious book. I look at the Bible as things that unfolded in history that people wrote down, like I'm doing right now. I'm recording. For I have the technology to make sure that anybody who ever watched this 1,000, a million years in the future, if they ever recaptured it somehow on a USB disk they found hidden in a jar somewhere, and they plugged into one of their, because they found out that E equals MC squared too, and so they had created new machines that could detect things for them, like we have our computers. Because eventually they will discover that E equals mc squared. And that is an inevitable truth. The universe physics are stable. Right now they are. And the fact is they will also discover energy and electricity. Any other species that has an intelligent, conscious awareness will discover how the universe works and that E equals mc squared. And that's just the beginning of understanding the true nature of the universe. But, you know, when we made that discovery, we really made a huge breakthrough on how the universe works and operates. And, you know, I'm a true believer in the universal theory of relativity instead of Einstein's theory of relativity, which was another theory that Einstein had, was the universal theory of relativity. But his religion weighed heavy on his heart and forced Einstein not to propose that idea of universal theory of relativity, because what that would impend upon, what that would entail is that you and I are all part of the Creator itself. And that was a hard thing to accept. That would be going against Christianity, saying that you are God, you are part of God. No way. Are you serious? Christianity would not accept that you are a part of God, that you may be even God himself, experiencing a life of free will that you think is your will, but you have no idea. I mean, I'm not saying that's how it's actually happening. But, you know, imagine a dream. We have dreams, right? These are just, you know, imagine we are living the Creator's dream of some sort, with which multiple people are existing, or maybe even a simulation. I think that we do live in a simulation. The Creator is probably a supercomputer coder. That's it. That's all the Creator is. He understands mathematics to the T. I mean, mathematics on a level we could never begin to understand. And if you can understand mathematics, you can create second-dimensional worlds like computer games to shoot people in these cool Battlefield games and Call of Duty. And, you know, these games that we as human beings create, these worlds, these dimensional worlds where we're not ourselves, but we are. You know? We're playing a character, we're controlling the character, but the character has no idea he's being controlled. You understand what I'm saying, folks? So, in that essence, I think that we do recreate on a smaller scale what's really going on, you know, with our games and our alternate realities that we want to experience. I think that we are living in an alternate reality right now that is part of a growing phase of humanity, of beingness. Maybe human beings are not the only beings out there, and maybe being a human is special because it's the only time you may be a human. And it may pay off to understand what it means to be a human and learn from that. And folks, you know, I wanted to take this on a positive path today. Not a lot of cursing, not a lot of anger, not a lot of frustration. I wanted to kind of fill you up with some information that may help you understand who and what you are. And that life doesn't have to be this authoritarian, repetitive pattern day after day. And that, you know, everybody here is going to go through a hard time soon. Even all over the world. If the US dollar falls, the world falls. And then we all got to rebuild somehow. And we need to be the ones that rebuild faster so that the rest of the world don't know what hit them. And we're ready to recover and become a great nation again. A constitutional nation like we used to be. One that allowed freedoms and liberties and stood for the American way and the American people instead of the rest of the world. You know, I understand, and I do feel bad for the rest of the world. But the rest of the world has an obligation, a duty, a responsibility to stand up for their children and their rights as a human being. And if they don't feel they're being treated right, then they need to band together. And that's what we need to do. Band together and tell our government that enough is enough. Enough of your unconstitutional bullshit. Enough of you saying that we can't do this and you can do that. You're exempt from the laws that you say that we can't do. So, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and preach like I'm a perfect fucking goody two-shoe, because I'm not. I make my mistakes. Everybody makes their mistakes. But the government has been making mistakes and laughing as they're making mistakes, because they have this secret program where they don't have to tell the American people everything they do. And they aren't getting all their money through the taxpayers. And that some of the money is dirty, so that they can be off the books, off the record. And, I hope that the people know that, there comes a time when you and I are going to face a moment in our life, and it may not be in our life, it may be your children's life, and I really do care about my children more than myself. I care about my children more than myself. So there will come a time when either you or your children or your children's children will have to face this moment of pure awe. And hopefully it's a good moment, and I hope we can turn this country around, because I see a lot of things happening where it's not going to get turned around. And it's only digging ourselves in a deeper hole. And we're not fixing any of the problems that we have. We're only making them worse and prolonging them, and deciding when and whose fate should be saved, and why, and deciding when and why we can speak or defend ourselves. These things are human rights that we as human beings, God-given rights, unalienable rights, as American people. Our country was founded on greatness and under God, under a creator. It was under that principle that, just as much as I created my daughter, the Creator created the original human beings, and we have to accept that, whether there was another woman figure in that process or not. We don't know, and we may never know until the time comes. But I will tell you guys, folks, it's not a religion thing for me. I hate, I won't use the word hate. I dislike religion because it forces people to believe a certain thing. And I always like to keep an open mind. And, I've never said that I believe that there's only one creator, and that I believe that he's all-powerful and he can do whatever he wants and he's this magical being. I never said that. I said I created my daughter. I know somehow we did originally get created. And I made that process happen. It was a physical process. And I know that there was a physical process to how we were created. And the Bible says that we were created in 6 days. It was like a push of a button. Boop. And then it was just uploading for 6 days. That's it. The whole universe uploaded in 6 days. From this little speck of energy that was in a machine to turn the power switch on. Your computer comes on. Now this whole other world exists. And I'm saying that is a possibility, folks. I am saying that we could be living in a world that was created and designed and wired and computed and coded by a very intelligent being. So, leave it at what you will. Whether that being's a good being or not, I don't know. Whether that being's a bad being or not, I don't know. Whether that being has our interest in its heart, I don't know. I have no idea. But I intend to experience this chance here on this planet and soak in all the knowledge that I can and absorb any information, because if there's a chance that there is an afterlife, just even a small chance that there's an afterlife, I want to be prepared for that. And if there's not, then so be it. But if there is an afterlife, I want to be prepared for that. And I want to be prepared for the moment when I have to see myself go through my life and do the things I've all done, and watch myself do the shitty things I've done again, and experience those moments all over again. And when that moment comes, I hope that everyone is prepared for the change is coming. Because after the change is over, after all the shit hits the fan, and after the dust settles, I believe we will be transitioning into fourth density. Much more intelligent beings. Why do you think within the last 100 years our intelligence has skyrocketed? Our IQ has skyrocketed. Because of information that we got a hold of. And that's all it is information. And information is power, and you got to remember that. The people who hold the key masters are holding you hostage and keeping you at bay, because they're the only ones with the key, the knowledge. And you need to get the knowledge yourself. You need to inform yourself. You need to inform your friends. You need to inform your family. You need to inform your church. You need to inform your PTA meeting for your schools. You need to inform your college institutions, your college professors. You need to inform mainstream media. You need to inform the police. You need to inform everyone in the military. You need to inform everyone, period. Some people are just dirty people, and you will not be able to reach out to them. And they will turn you down and deny you and smack you down and make you look like a joke. But I'm going to tell you what, in the end, they're going to be the fucking joke. You know, and I hope that they do have food saved up, and they do have medicine saved up, and they do have things like iodine that protects them against radiation from nuclear fallout. And I do hope that they store up on some of these things, at least batteries, and there's still things that I need to get myself, that I need to save up, water filters, and you know, these things aren't cheap, but you need to get them. Instead of getting an Xbox, get a Pro Pure water filter. Yeah, how about that? And then see how much cleaner and tastier your water is, and how less metallic-y it tastes. You know, instead of getting a gun. Oh, I mean, I'm not so sorry. I love guns. It's a bad one. Okay, instead of getting a new car, maybe fix up your car to where it's operational, and then buy some storable foods for you and your family. Instead of, you know, getting a new whatever, wasting money. Instead of going to the bars, wasting your money on alcohol. Instead of going to the club, wasting your money on trying to get laid. What you need to do is invest your money on preparing for your future and your kids' future. Because we live in this lollygag. I mean, we live in this fairy tale world right now. We are literally, America's in this fairy tale bubble. We're just like blah, 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 dancing around like little fucking fairies. Sorry, excuse my language. Dancing around like fairies. We're lost. Somebody needs to come up to us and... What? Huh? What? Oh, the government's robbing me? Oh, the place I work at is robbing me? Oh, they're paying me minimum wage even though they make billions? Oh, wow. These things are happening. Should I do something, or should I just let them be fucking douchebags to me? Let them kill me and my kids. Fuck off. Go fuck yourself. I'm tired of the fucking shit. People need to stand up, wake up. And that's my frustration for the day, folks. I'm sorry for that, but I just had to get it out there, you know? I'm a loving person. I really do love people, and that's what really makes me so angry, is that how can people not care and love because they've been destroyed themselves. And so their natural reaction is to automatically re-destroy. And, you know, people need to really seriously think about the things and the actions they have and the experiences they have on this mind-body-spirit complex dimensional plane called planet Earth. You know, the speck of a blue dot in the middle of nothing. So, I'm going to tell you right now, folks, there's a lot more to it than you think. And the science is starting to prove it. The research is starting to prove it. And whistleblowers are starting to come out. And people are starting to wake the fuck up. And I hope you do too. This is Mental Madness, folks. I'm your host, Mad Max. Till next time, love you guys.